because at this stage, as I'm sure you are well aware now, when you get your license or you even sign up for the exam, you start getting phone calls, emails, snail mail, lots of communication from all the brokerages in your town. And a lot of new agents ask me as they're getting their license, they're like, how do I know? How do I know who to work for? How do I decide who to work for? And I would like to lead you through a series of questions that you can ask yourself and help in your interviewing process to really determine what's the right brokerage for you. So the first question I would ask is location. And I would have you determine how far of a commute do you want to be from your office. And I highly, highly recommend that you choose a brokerage that is pretty close to where you live. And I do this because you want to be in a place when you're first starting out where you are talking to people every day, where you're in and out of the office, you're like talking to an admin, you're talking to a manager, you are face to face with all these people, you're going into meetings, you have where your brokerage like even hosts, lunches and breakfasts and happy hours, and they're connected and they're bringing people into the office. I think it's super important that you are able to ask all the questions that you need answered. You are able to contact someone, about anything at any time. You have access to a printer and just all of the office stuff that you need. And I know it may sound kind of simple and you're like, Audrey, I thought I was going to be out showing houses and, doing deals and hanging out with people. And that is part of it. But I think it's really, really important to be connected to a local office and have a great physical location to go to and a place that's easy to get to and that will be also like near a lot of the places that you want to be selling to. So you don't want to drive, all over the place. Like let's say that you live in Fort Worth, but you sign on to a local small brokerage in Dallas. Well, that's a good 45-minute drive, no traffic. And, so you're not going to be able to make a lot of the meetings, right? Or if so, you're going to be doing this really long commute and you might get worn out, kind of early on. So anyway, I think the physical location of your local office is very, very important to consider. The second thing I would ask, who you're interviewing with is their experience, some questions that might help you determine, how long have you been in the business and tell me how many houses do you sell every year? Like you want to work for people who are still very active in selling real estate, not who are active in just management or even, making, let's say, YouTube videos or procuring leads or anything like that. You want to work with people who are actively selling in the market that you're in so that they're aware of all of the things happening. And then you're also on the same page where it's not like they used to sell and now they just coach people or something like that, which can be very beneficial, but you want to have people who are boots on the ground, who are doing what you're doing every day. It's very important. The third thing you want to look for is support. So does the office have, a technology guru? And, is there an admin? Is there someone answering the phones? Is there, someone you can ask you need a manager or a broker who is going to pick up the phone when you call, who's going to text back, who, can be available on a Saturday when you leave the open house and you need to submit an offer and there's a multiple offer situation and you need help. So who is this support staff? And so ask some questions about, what are the hours that everyone works and who's the person that you go to learn the CRM and who's kind of the back office manager who's going to send the CDA at closing, which is the document that gets you paid, and all of those kinds of things. So really ask about the support in the office. And then you are also going to look for brand recognition. And I know that, as you get more seasoned as an agent, this might not be as important for you. But early on, it's important that when you put your sign in the yard, that people are going to look at the sign and go, oh, I trust that company. And this could be a local broker, but one way to determine this is just kind of drive around in the neighborhoods that you know you want to be selling in and look and see who's dominating that market. And that might be the people that you want to learn from early on. So I think brand name is important in your niche and in your local market. Or you might go the route of just picking, one of the really large brokerages that have just a brand name presence in your city, in your state, and everybody knows them. But there's a lot of trust that's been built over the years that you then get to kind of tuck under that wing and benefit from. So I think that's really important. And then lastly are what we call splits in the business. And so you may have heard this phrase or this vocab word, but splits refers to your percentage of the payment. So in Texas, most transactions pay 3% of the contract price to the buying agent or the selling agent, whichever side you're representing. So if you are getting 3% of this transaction, but then the splits in your office are, let's say most agents start out just kind of across the board at a 70-30 split, then that would mean that you are taking home 70% of that 3%, and your broker will take home the 30% of that 3%. And then in addition to that, there may be other fees. There may be an office fee, there may be a transaction coordinator fee, there may be just different little fee, a brokerage fee. There are just different fees that can be involved. And then there's also what's called a cap that some firms use. So this cap is calculated as, let's say you have this 70-30 split. Well, the 70% then builds up to a grand total. And this total could be $5,000, it could be $10,000, it could be $20,000, whatever the brokerage has, set it at. And this is an annual cap, and so it resets every year on the anniversary of, your signing date. But your 70% would then go to fill this bucket. And so after you hit, let's say it's $10,000, after you hit this $10,000 mark, then you get a different split. So then maybe your split changes to 95-5, or you get 100% of your commission, or whatever that looks like. But you want to be aware of how the brokerage is laid out and how those splits are working. Now, I was at one of the large brokerage houses for a while and mentoring new agents as they were coming in, and learned that their splits were actually 50-50. And this, I feel personally, was way too low for them because this was for even leads that they were bringing on personally. So they could have sold a house to their best friend or their mom or, whoever in their life, and they were only receiving 50% of that 3%. And in addition to that, there was a cap, and then there were other fees. So in reality, they were bringing home about 1% of that 3%, and doing a lot of work for a lead that they had already brought in. Now, sometimes I think that this, let's say a 50-50 might be okay if you are receiving the lead from the brokerage house. So maybe the broker is buying Zillow leads, or the broker is procuring their own leads through their own personal relationship, or however, they're procuring the leads, and then maybe giving you 50% from there. And that can be okay, especially as you're starting out, because that lead was free to you to obtain. So receiving 1 to 1.5% commission for working with a stranger that was handed to you, that can be a good deal. So ask all of these questions as you're interviewing, and just determine, kind of put all of these ideas on paper and choose the brokerage that will offer you the best situation, combining all of those factors that come into play as you are, kind of niching down and determining what's best for you.